Welcome to Unstoppable Agents. This is the show where real estate agents come to build their business, build their wealth, and build a life of impact and significance.
And I wish I would have known when I was a new agent. I was just a young pup. And I wish I would have known that you want to pay ahead on your bills about 3 months when you start out as a realtor. You're not going to make that consistent monthly income. And so if your bills are paid ahead 3 months, you don't have to stress during your starting out and your training of being a realtor.
I'm Brian White. I am a realtor in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, an associate broker with eXp Realty, and a team leader. We love selling real estate and we love helping other people build their business. That's what we do here. And I get the pleasure of interviewing some amazing agents. Today, I actually get to spend some time with Katherine Uei from Saldanha, Alaska. Did I get that right, Katie?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Welcome. We're super glad to have you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So what's amazing is I get to interview a lot of people, and many times they've earned an Icon Award at eXp once or twice. That's really the top award that you can get at our company. So it's rare air. And we were talking before, and you've earned this 5 times. You're a 5-time icon. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. And this year at the gala in Anchorage, I was able to achieve the double Icon Award, and I never even knew that existed, but apparently it does. And I won the award, and so it was pretty shocking because I don't keep track of my numbers or my stat. But when they called me up to the stage, I won that, and I won top listing agent for the state of Alaska and top land sales for the state of Alaska.
Damn, that's awesome. So not only did you had an amazing year, but you've been killing it for a while, right? So this isn't like you're not a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
You're killing it consistently.
Where's my thing at?
Oh, that's great. I love it.
There it is.
Well, congratulations on all your success. I love to start off by really giving some people some meat, some tips, some things that they can take away to build their business.
I would advise that they choose a broker that will take the time to teach them and mentor them and how to write contracts. Choose somebody who will answer the phone after 5 o'clock because that's when everybody wants to write a contract and wants to answer the phone on the weekends. And I wish I would have known when I was a new agent. I was just a young pup, and I wish I would have known that you want to pay ahead on your bills about 3 months when you start out as a realtor. You're not going to make that consistent monthly income. And so if your bills are paid ahead 3 months, you don't have to stress during your starting out and your training of being a realtor. And there's that 2-week wait when you're waiting for licensing to approve you, where you should go and meet every single lender and learn everything you can about loan programs, because the last thing you want to do is get a buyer who says they're a VA loan and you show them a house and you put them into an accepted offer and they spend money on a home inspection, they spend money on an appraisal, only to find out the home would have never qualified and you just wasted $1,500 of your client's money and you broke their heart. And you might have even had them put a notice in on their lease, and now you've caused them to be homeless.
Almost as bad.
I advise that agents, before they even write their first offers, go meet with as many lenders as you can and truly understand each loan program, because if you don't, you're going to end up putting buyers into contracts and homes that they should have never even written offers on or looked at.
So I love this advice, because it's a little different. Most of the time people talk about lead generation or they talk about some different things. So tell me, why is the first thing you pointed people to really get to know the contract? Let's talk about that.
In Alaska, when we do our education for real estate, we learn licensing laws and regulations, but we don't learn how to write contracts. So when you get out into the real estate industry and your buyer's ready to write something up, you're just like, okay, let me call my broker and figure this out. So, and you got to do it with confidence. So you got to learn your contracts. And so when I started out, I had a broker that was too busy to teach me how to write contracts. And I won't say the brokerage because that makes it cost up, because I'm not a gossiper, but I really wish I would have chosen a broker that had time to teach me how to write contracts. So the way I learned how to write contracts is I would call the listing agents and ask them to help me learn how to write a contract on their listings. And so it was actually not my broker who taught me how to do anything. It was all the realtors in the community. And it wasn't that I was making my buyers offer what they wanted. It was just if they want to sell their property, they might want to help me learn how to write a contract because my broker was not doing it.
That really is great advice, because what we offer is expertise. What we offer is advice and knowledge in the market, and our clients don't know the contract, and they're paying us either way, whether they're buying or selling. Ultimately, we're getting paid for advising them. So we need to know how to do that. And it is a profession, just an attorney, a doctor, it is a profession where expertise matters. And so I love that that's important to you, and that being an expert at what you do. Obviously, that's the reason you're the top listing agent in Alaska, and the reason why you're doing so well.
I've been pretty blessed. I dedicated my business to the Lord, and I just treat people fairly, honestly, truthfully. I'm not out to sell them the first house they look at. If it's not going to be good for them, I will be honest. And so my clients have learned to ask me, Katie, would you sell this house to your child? And so that's what I said. Just ask me that. Don't ask me what I think of the neighborhood. Don't ask me any of this other stuff. You know, we can get into the birds and the bees, but you just want to know straight up, would I recommend this house? Ask me if I would sell it to my child, and I'll tell you, yep, or I'll tell you, I'm not going to do it.
Great. Brilliant question. Don't get me into legal trouble, but ask me about my kid. And then
so then I had this husband and wife, and he wanted the house so bad, but the foundation was total crap. And so they get on the phone. He's like, I think we could figure it out. I think we could fix the foundation. I want those views. So I've always had those views down south, and I just want to repeat those views. And so then the wife goes, I just have one question. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. And we're on FaceTime. She pops her head in behind him. She goes, would you sell it to your kid, Katie? And I said, you know what? I said I wouldn't sell it to my child. And so the husband says, fine, we won't do this one then.
Dang it.
It's funny.
I love that. What a great question. And then you snuck something in there that was awesome. And I love that. And so we always say, seek first the kingdom, and all these things will be added to you. So that's obviously a huge, if not fully responsible for your success. So I love you sharing that.
Yeah, he's 100% owed all the glory. Of course, I do work, but he gives me all my clients, the saved and the unsaved. And so and the unsaved ones, it's funny because even the people that are against God and things of God are tagging me in real estate posts just because they want me to get more business. And so that's biblical too.
We have an opportunity to love people love all people and love them where they are. So their status, their belief has nothing to do with our opportunity to love them.
Yeah.
And if we do that well, then we'll find success, and they have a chance to find joy. So it's a win for everybody.
Yeah. You want to hear the coolest out of all my years doing this, almost 10 years, the coolest, most memorable moment was I had a guy wanted to list a house, and it was on the market well over 8 years. And I was realtor number 7. And it was an old house, like 1950s house, and he wanted the same price, and he did nothing new to it. And so I get there, and I said, his wife, she looked very sick, like skeleton-y. She always had a lot of food in front of her, but never ate it, and always smelled amazing. But it was clear to me that they wanted him to do all the talking, the husband, not her. I was talking to him, and I said, would you mind if I just said a prayer about your sale? It's been a long time on the market. We haven't changed anything. You've got 9 bedrooms downstairs, and none of them have egress windows. It's going to be a challenge. And so he said, I follow the Quran. And I said, I like to understand all religions. So how about you share with me about yours? And he goes, okay. So he gets all excited. Wall goes down. And he shares all about it. And then I said, okay. I said, well, would you just mind if I just said a quick prayer just by myself for your home sale? And he said, yes. The next day we got an accepted offer. And so then I told him, I said, next is the home inspection, and you've got 9 bedrooms downstairs that don't have legal egress windows. I'm just saying it's going to be a lengthy inspection report. And my Bible says where 2 or more comes together in prayer shall be done. Do you want to join me on this one for your home inspection? He goes, okay, I'll join you. And I was like, okay. So he joined me in prayer. Our home inspection was awful. It was over 90 pages. Holy smokes. But the buyer didn't care. He didn't care. And we moved
Awesome.
forward. And I was like, hallelujah. So we get to where we are. I keep going there. Every time I go, there's all this food in front of the wife, Beck, and she never eats, but she always has this amazing meal in front of her. And I just go and stuff my face with food after I leave every day because it smells so good. And so we're a day before closing, and Michael calls me and he says, Katie, it's not good. I said, what's up, Michael? He goes, Beck's in the hospital. I said, oh, okay. You know, of all people, you're going to call your realtor. So I was like, okay. I was like, let me cancel all my appointments and I will see you there. I have a chaplain's card. It was during the whole COVID era. So I had my chaplain's card so I could get into the hospital regardless. And I got in there and I saw her, and it was just like I was watching her last day. And I said, Beck. And she would never talk to me. All the times I went there, she made it really clear, you talk to my husband, not talking shit. So I was like, maybe she doesn't like talking. I don't know anything about this lady. And so I get to the hospital and I'm like, Beck, I was like, are you ready to give your heart to Jesus? And she goes, yes. I was like, she was in her 70s. She was they're older people. And so I looked over at Michael and I was like, Michael, you've been with her over 50 years. I was like, is this a forever goodbye to your wife? Or would you like to be in eternity when she's in eternity? And he goes, I want to be in eternity when she's in eternity. And I was like, okay, then get over here. And he goes, okay. We all held hands and we all said the sinner's prayer. And the Lord took out Beck's pain. And so that was beautiful. And she did die an hour and a half later. And it turned out later on, we learned it was a kinked intestine, totally preventable. Hospital had so many scans on her. They never found it. They just didn't do their job. And so Michael calls me a week later. He says, I'm a mess. And I was like, well, yeah, you've been with Beck over 50 years.
Sure.
You're a mess, Michael. That's normal. And so he goes, yeah, what am I going to do? And I was like, listen, Michael, would you have peace? God knows you and God knows Beck. Would you have peace if God gave you an undeniable sign, undeniable, that Beck was in heaven and she was okay? Would that give you the peace that you're looking for? And he says, yeah, that will give me the peace I'm looking for. We pray that God give him an undeniable sign that Beck's in heaven. And so I don't hear from him for a week and a half. And he finally calls me back. He says, I got my sign. I was like, really? What was it? And he goes, Beck and I go to the dump every day to watch the eagles. She loves the eagle watch, and we take pictures of the eagles, and that's what we do as our fun thing to do together. And I was like, that's pretty cool. I like eagles too. And he said, and all week long, there's been an eagle on my back deck just staring at me. And he said, and I go to town and I come back and it's still there and it's just staring at me. And he goes, and I didn't even realize it until just now. That's my sign. I was like, that's great. I was like, so do you have peace now? He said, I really do. And so I was like, now that the eagle's done its job, it's probably going to go. And he goes, okay. And so the eagle did leave. And, but that's what I do.
So I love that story. That's awesome. I think it's ironic. So what we're actually talking about at our church is we're going through something called, so hope carrier is what we talk about. And there really is a concept that we have an opportunity to bring hope wherever we go. So often people that, okay, we go into church and but no, we're supposed to take the church out to people.
Yes.
And not at all about the building. It's the body going and doing the work in the marketplace.
We're the church.
Yeah. So I love that story. And I love it because it's an encouragement to, so often on these, if you're watching this and you've seen many of these that I ask, hey, where does your business come from? So I don't know if anybody needs me to ask Katie that question because I've got a pretty good idea. And what's the advice that I'll share with people is so often people will tell you, you don't talk about politics or religion or whatever it is. You should talk about who you are, and you should be who you are. And will you offend some people? Sure. Will you divide people and cause some to be less interested? Yes, but the people that are drawn to you will be even so much more so because you're your authentic self, whoever that is, right? So obviously, Katie and I are aligned in some beliefs, but even if you have different beliefs, go with who you are and be authentic in that, and you'll have
and
more.
Respect other people's religions. Like if they have one, respect it. I wanted to hear about him and his excitement of religion. Like I wasn't. So, I think because he saw I had respect for him, it opened the doors.
So there's something that I'm going to put it on the screen here that I've been trying to get people to do. It's this concept of listen like you're wrong. So listen to other people, not so you can convert them, but listen so that you can understand them and really, really hear them. And now you're not in this case, obviously, but in some, you may be wrong. Right? There may be a reason. You may not understand them at all. They may have life experiences in history that causes them to think a certain way. So it's an opportunity for us to learn. And you came around the table to listen and learn from him, and it changed his life.
Yeah, it did. And I still, that sale was 3 years ago. I still talk to him all the time. And so he's traveling all around, just living his life. But yeah, so I am actually thinking about writing a book. Touched by God is what I want to title it, and it'll have all the places he sent me in real estate. Like literally 11 o'clock at night had me knock on someone's door, and I was like, Lord, it's 11 o'clock at night.
Dang it.
I was like, it's November, it's dark outside. I was like, I have no idea who lives in this house, God. I was like, you want me to knock on their door? And so I was like, how about I come back tomorrow, God? And I know that's delays disobedience, but I was like, it's 11 o'clock at night. I don't know who lives in this house. God said, no, go knock on the door. And I was like, oh gosh. I was like, this is awkward. I was like, okay, God's not going to put me in a situation. If he said knock on the door, I'm going to knock on the door. So I went over there and knocked on the door, and my dog headbutted me, by the way. So that's why I have this little. I have Great Danes. But I knocked on the door, and this guy answered, and he said, my daughter just killed herself. And I was like, oh, gosh. And so I said, I'm so sorry that happened to you, your family. And he was able to, it's another little bit of a long one, but I was able to help him out. The Lord had healed his wife's neuropathy. I was able to, because I was a poor mom, so I was able to listen to him. He was scared about being able to afford to care for his grandkids. So I asked him to share his income. I brought all the packets of things he qualified for and helped him fill them out. And so, I can call him a friend, just a friend that I met on random. But 11 o'clock at night.
What I love the obedience of that, and that's awesome. The faith and obedience there to walk into awkward situations, and there's blessings in that.
Yeah, it really awkward. There was another one where I was just meeting somebody for the first time, and I don't know them at all, and I'm meeting them for a listing appointment, and right as I'm at the door, God asks me to ask him. He said, ask him why he doesn't believe I'm in his life because of his son. I was like, whoa. I don't know the son situation. That's a really clear question. I was like, okay. I was like, all right. So I get inside the house and I look to the right, and I'm looking over to the right. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the son is a disabled middle-aged man on the couch. And I was like, Lord, I was like, I don't know these people. I was like, and he said, ask him. And he repeated himself. He said, ask him why he doesn't believe I'm in his life because of his son. I was like, oh, it's like, this is so awkward. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it. Worst thing, I could be kicked out of the house. I'd rather make God proud of me than people I don't even know.
Sure. Yeah.
I did need the listing though. There you go. And so I look around and I see all these crosses all over the walls and Bibles and stuff. I'm like, okay, they might not be too weirded out by this question. So I said, okay, guys, before we get into anything, I said, God wants me to ask you why you don't believe he's in your life because of your son. And the wife's what? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awkward. I was like, this is so awkward, God. And the husband said, honey, wait. He goes, I ask God that every day. I was like, oh my gosh. So I was like, my heart's like, because I don't know what to expect. And he said, then what's the answer? And I said, I said, let me ask God. Hang on a second. I was like, Lord, what's the answer? You put a real awkward question out there, and I need the answer now. I don't want to be on candid camera here.
Don't leave me hanging.
I was like, don't leave me hanging on that one. That's awkward. And he said, ask him if he ever prayed to never be alone before his son was born. And I was like, And I was like, okay. I said, did you ever pray to never be alone before your son was born? And he goes, I did. And he said, so it's my fault my son's like this? And I said, no. I said, you're not God. I was like, you didn't create your son. I was like, God created your son. And I said, besides, what's wrong with your son? Nothing. I said, look at him. He's completely happy over there. I said, he's surrounded by God and God's glory, and he's with a family that loves him. He's not out in the world dealing with altercations and people that are out to get him and just mean things and trial and tribulation. He's not out in the world. He gets to be with his family that loves him all the time. I said, in fact, biblically, he's got this ticket to heaven. And it's like our life on earth is like this, and heaven is eternity. And if I could trade myself and all my abilities and be in your son's shoes and get a guaranteed ticket to heaven because he's a diagnosis, then I would. And he said, you would want to be in my son's shoes? I said, absolutely. And I said, and the Lord said that your son likes horseback riding. And he goes, horseback riding? I said, yes. And I said, so you got to quit looking at your son like you feel bad for him. I said, you got to realize he's living a good life with people who love him, and take your boy horseback riding. He goes, okay. So anyways, he started taking his son horseback riding. His son loves it. And they go horseback riding all the time. And it's like the whole oppression in the household just left. It just left. It was like closure. I'm taking the listing.
Dispatched by God. I love it. I'm sure you got the listing.
I did.
That's awesome. And so much more. You were a blessing. And what I will say is that's also a wonderful indication of what your prayer life must look like.
He's pretty strong.
Yeah, I was gonna say these are not random occasional conversations, but evidence of ongoing conversation. Katie, and unfortunately, we got to wrap up. Would love to continue this conversation and revisit. You are an absolute blessing. I do want to give you a chance to any parting comments.
Any parting comments? Just super simple. Treat everybody as you'd want to be treated. Love people like you would want to be loved. And always do what's right. And there's no fear in this business. Dedicate it to God and give him the glory for all the good that happens in life and for the teachable moments that happen in life. You got to give him the glory for those too, because without those, how would we learn all the gifts that the teachable moments provide? And in that, just forgive and love and work hard and be willing to do what many are not, and give him all the glory.
That's awesome. Thank you. It was a pleasure getting to know you.
Yeah, you too. And any other questions?
No, I will say that if anybody is watching this happens to be moving to Saldana, Alaska, then you should reach out to Katie. We'll include her socials in the description so you can track her down. Or maybe you just want to visit and spend some time with her because she's totally precious. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us today.
Yeah, you too. Have a good day.
So you really are, that's off.